Demand has been incredibly strong, buying on the dips, if you will. People, I think, are looking at what happened on Tuesday maybe as a subsidy.
Hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics. And it is once again that time of the week for the physical silver and gold market update with Andy Schectman of Miles Franklin, who is quickly becoming an internet superstar. Andy, nicely done on your 40,000 plus view count last week. Pretty slick and perhaps not surprising with the way the price is going up, and also not surprising given the things that you've talked about and forecasted well in advance of it happening. So a pleasure to have you back on here today. And how are you?
Good to hear from you, Chris. I'm doing all right, man. It's certainly crazy times, and there really is no let up with the craziness and the volatility. You know, if you look at charts, Chris, of the previous market blow-offs, or when a market is ready to take off in one direction or the other, typically it's associated with tremendous increase in volatility leading up to that point. And you know, there were times when people wouldn't believe the idea of silver moving up $1 or $2 per day, or down $1 or $2 per day, let alone $4, which I'd like to talk about in a minute. But suffice it to say, the volatility is picking up. The breadth of the movements are picking up, as is the physical demand in the industry. So certainly no rest for the weary, and very interesting times ahead. I'm expecting things to get probably exponentially crazier as we get towards the end of the year as well. But it's good to be here with you, buddy.
Well, I appreciate that. And certainly one thing that I think a lot of people were curious about, you and I talked about it the other day, but what was the environment like? I think it was Tuesday when the price went down $4 in a day from 29 to 25. It actually got down to 24 at one point, I believe. And I think a lot of people would be interested to know what were your customers saying? Were they buying? What can you tell us there?
You know, in large part due to people like you, the people who are buying gold and silver are wise to the manipulation on the COMEX market. And while that manipulation has been further and fewer in between lately, they're wise to it. On Tuesday, 2 years worth of annual mine production were dumped onto the market in a thinly traded session before really it hit New York. And I mean, anyone could tell you that that's probably the least effective way to get the best price when someone is trying to sell that much silver that they didn't even have, naked shorting it. And it was done for effect, completely and totally. It was a drive-by shooting of the silver market. It's trying to regain some of its losses, although today wasn't a great day either. But suffice it to say, demand has been incredibly strong, buying on the dips, if you will. People, I think, are looking at what happened on Tuesday maybe as a subsidy, if you will, that nothing's changed. In fact, you know, it seems as though every day the underlying issues are only growing and increasing. And so the what happened on Tuesday was not a function of things getting better, anything but. I mean, a drive-by shooting is really what it was, and people realize that. And I think you're seeing exactly that in their reaction by record demand in the entire industry. I was talking to some of the larger distributors in the industry on Tuesday or Wednesday, and you know, you'd wait on hold for 5, 6, 7 minutes before you could talk to someone who was exasperated and out of breath. This isn't just Miles Franklin. This is industry-wide. Those types of manipulations are losing effectiveness. They are being turned against the cartel that pushes the price down, only to strengthen their resolve. I'm sure you'll have the numbers. I don't know exactly how much silver was added to SLV on Tuesday, but I venture to believe it was a tremendous amount even as the price came down. So there are, I think, just a tremendous number of people who are more informed, thanks to people like you, who are using these manipulations, these subsidized pullbacks as an opportunity to just reposition themselves at a better price, Chris. So demand has been anything but what you would think when the price is falling.
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes sense where I guess the question popping into my head this week is that, let's say even when silver is $50 again, if you're a long-term investor, I mean, we'll leave the traders aside for the moment, but if you're a long-term investor, I mean, what else do you do? Do you say, well, silver is high, go buy some negative yielding treasuries out of a U.S. government? That, Andy, did you know they just kind of gave up on the debt ceiling? I actually looked it up the other day, and I guess the last time it came up, they just suspended it, which, it's like what are people supposed to say? Where even with gold at 2,200, yeah, I get it. If you're sitting there looking at charts, you can say it's at the all-time high, but I don't know. It's like, are you supposed to leave cash in the bank while the Fed's running a hyperinflation campaign? Do you buy Tesla shares that have gone up eightfold? Which I'm sure it's just a random coincidence that happened right at the time the Fed started the repo line. So now again, I'm just, like the former trader turned silver guy. And I mean, by all means, don't follow me, but it's like, I'm quite thrilled that, I've somehow created a business where I get paid to sit here and talk about silver and make jokes about the Fed. But it's like, even when silver is 50, I don't know. It's like I've been sitting here thinking about it. And again, I'm not telling anyone else what to do, but it's like, well, all right, you pay your rent, go out, do your stuff. And I guess I'm going to just keep buying silver and gold shares because the Fed doesn't look like they're going to quit. So perhaps a very long, I don't even know if there's a question in there, but thoughts on that, my friend?
Well, I'm going to say something maybe somewhat sacrilege, and I hope I don't offend you, but maybe regardless of what the price does, maybe that ratio between gold and silver goes single digits. Like Keith Neumeier will tell you, what's coming out of the ground is 6 or 7 to 1. Maybe at that point you consider, or your listeners consider, trading a portion of their silver into gold, which is irrespective of what the price is. But I'll tell you something. I've often thought about if I had $20 million to invest, where am I going to put it? And you said it right. You have equities at their most overvalued place in history, with 50 million people unemployed and an illusion of prosperity that has been created by the Federal Reserve, which is, I think, even people who wouldn't know a gold coin if it fell on their foot, who have enjoyed the 2+ decade bull market in U.S. equities, even they are beginning to understand that much of what we're seeing on Wall Street is make-believe, that it is detached from Main Street, and that it is just a function of, or an illusion of a desperate Federal Reserve. Putting your money into fixed income right now is the height of absurdity. As I've mentioned in times past, when I started in this industry in 1989, 1990, there was a 9% coupon on a U.S. Treasury. So you could put $2 million into that and make $180,000 a year in interest without ever touching your principal. Now, with real interest rates being negative when inflation is factored in, you're guaranteed to lose a considerable amount of money. John Williams would tell you far more than I may say right now based upon his measurements, but suffice it to say, just based upon the 2% inflation mandate of the Fed after 10 years, with interest rates at 0.6%, you're guaranteed to lose 1.4% over 10 years. And we know those numbers are much, much higher than that. And so what, you'll pick your poison. In real estate, I don't know. And this leads me to my point of one of the things that is really very unusual right now, Chris, is the positive correlation between stocks and bonds that always were inversely correlated. And so I guess the bottom line is simply this. Ibbotson, which is a group out of Chicago that was bought by Morningstar, they're a research company, an analytical company, and not too many years ago came out and said because of these super low interest rates, because the stock and bond market are no longer inversely correlated, in fact, they're actually positively correlated to one another and inversely correlated to interest rates, that there are very few, if any, inversely correlated assets on the planet anymore to the United States stock market, with the exception of precious metals. So when you look at the big picture, you have gold and silver being the only inversely correlated, arguably, asset to the U.S. stock market and to the U.S. dollar simultaneously, which is being destroyed right out from under us. So what do you do with silver at 50? I don't know. I guess it depends what the rest of the world looks like. And quite frankly, if all you did right now, and I think 50 is really, that's selling it short. Because if you take gold at 1945 right now, and you divide it by 45, which has pretty much been the average price between gold and silver, the ratio, for the past 150 years, that's at $43 and change. It should be there right now. I think silver at 50 would be a bare minimum target, and quite frankly, I see it going much higher. And I don't say that to peddle my own wares, and I don't say that because I'm on your show, a silver expert. I say it because I truly believe it. It is a depleted asset. The alternatives for which to safely put your money are disappearing, and the environment in which we are all operating in or under is getting more tenuous, more frightening, and more volatile every single day, Chris. So honest to God, you're doing a service to people, telling them to put their money into one of the few asset classes on the planet that are still trading below what they were over 40 years ago, or what it was at its peak over 40 years ago. So not only that, it's being voraciously accumulated by some of the most sophisticated traders on the planet. So I don't know. I think I guess if I had to answer it in one sentence after my rambling dissertation, it would simply be, you'll know. Maybe it'll be blue chip stocks trading at single digit with the price to earnings ratios, single digit price to earnings ratios with a 6 or 7% dividend. Or maybe it's, coastal real estate or that condo on Vail selling for 20% of what it's selling for now. I don't know. But I do think asset classes move in a very predictable fashion from undervaluation through fair value to overvaluation. And when they correct, they go back through fair valuation to undervaluation. It's all a cycle. And there will be something, perhaps, of great value that we can trade silver into, one of the few items that will actually retain and most likely grow our wealth as the next several months and years go by.
So would I be correct in assuming that you're not planning to reallocate out of silver if the local Goldman Sachs broker calls with the latest hot subprime issue?
No, but I will tell you, if all of a sudden, like in 2010, we had an 85-to-1 ratio or thereabouts, and I told people, you need to switch your gold to silver. Within 1 year, we were at 37-to-1. And the reason that we talk about that, Chris, is that, look, if someone put in $100,000 into silver at 80-to-1, or where we are now, just north of 70-some-to-1, and it fell to that ratio just below its 150-year average of 35-to-1, you're effectively doubling the amount of gold that you could have otherwise bought today. And so playing that ratio game, every time the ratio is 40 or lower being in gold, and any time that is 80 or higher being in silver, just as a rule of thumb, you'd make out like a bandit over the last several decades. But anyways, no, I will hold my silver. Look, I look at my metal, Chris, as not as an investment. I look at it as wealth. when I'm trading between gold and silver, it's like trading between peanut butter and jelly. It's like it's the same thing to me. I look at silver as a substitute for gold, a better one right now. It just takes, and it's taking fewer and fewer of those ounces since March to buy it. But I hope to God that I never need to use my gold or silver. And if I do, I'm damn glad I have it. If not, my children will inherit it. And I think that's the proper way to look at it, not as an investment, but as wealth. And with that wealth will come opportunities to perhaps to take advantage of and or protection from an emergency. But I do think owning silver, as Rick Rule says, talking more about cash, but to me, silver is money, is wealth. It gives you the courage and the tools to take advantage of opportunities, of dislocations in the market, discrepancies in the market, anomalies in the marketplace. And so at this point, no, I'm not going to buy a subprime, but I do think that having gold and silver now will present opportunities in the future for the people who are smart enough to have shed mainstream assets and in favor of gold and silver, which are arguably still very undervalued when factored into inflation-adjusted dollars.
Well, if such a thing were even possible to add to or to even complement what you just said, I guess this is why, and people have heard this before and wonder why I say it. I didn't come up with calling you the James Bond of silver. That was viewer feedback. And I think your last response there just speaks to the range and diversity, as you're officially the first show to draw an analogy between gold and silver and peanut butter and jelly, showing off the range on a Friday afternoon as we record.
Boy.
I see why your ratings are hot, sir. I mean, it is coming together. Although you did mention the swaps there. We haven't talked about that in a while. I get emails from time to time asking about that. Are you still doing the swaps? And if people have any particular metals, can they swap into other things? Like, for example, if I had a lot of gold, could I swap into some platinum, which is up there on my list, as well as silver?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you're choosing the undervalued asset class in favor of the asset class that is at an all-time high or near it. So yeah, of course you can. To me, whenever someone does a swap, it's the same thing as writing out a blank check. We don't charge any commission on the buyback of whatever product they're trading, and apply all of the proceeds towards whatever it is that they're buying or swapping into. It's also interesting to note one of the things that people don't really think about, but ought to. In a world of decreasing privacy, Chris, the loss in privacy in and of itself in buying precious metals would be writing out a check or sending a wire. So if someone sells or does a swap, they trade the metal. It's a sale, an effective sale, unless it's gold to gold, which is a like for like. It's a sale. So they sell their metal. They do their job in reporting to the IRS a gain or a loss. Let's just make that assumption that everyone does that. That's where their reporting requirements end. Now, they have no obligation, nor are they ever asked to tell their accountant or anyone for that matter what they did with the proceeds. So let's say someone traded 20 ounces of gold right now for roughly $40,000 and put it into silver. That's two separate transactions. One, selling the gold. We don't charge any buyback commission on that, netting the client the highest bid price in the country. They then take the proceeds of that sale and trade it into silver or platinum, taking possession of it legally and paper trail free, because they never wrote out a check for it, nor did they ever send a wire for it. So while they did everything above board and legally and have documentation and paperwork to show it, they end up in a very private situation where the asset that they returned is now, in essence, invisible. That they tell their accountant, hey, I sold 20 ounces of gold in 2020. Here's what I paid for it. Here's what I got for it. There's a gain, there's a loss, whatever it may be. But they don't ever tell the accountant, yeah, I used the proceeds to buy, 3,000 ounces of silver or whatever. So my point to you is now that silver comes back, paper trail free. And in a world of decreasing privacy, having a little bit of privacy, I think goes a long way. And it certainly doesn't hurt. So I just like to throw that point in there. It's kind of the icing on the cake, if you will. When we talk about a swap, not only are you moving from perhaps an overvalued asset or fairly valued asset, let's say, to a supremely undervalued asset, you're also gaining it back with total privacy and anonymity.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And fortunately, as I was surveying the hottest sources of information this morning, Andy, there's a rumor floating around Wall Street that you put together for my listeners this week, a special so hot that they're going to have to wear oven mitts to dial the phone. What do you got for us, Skipper? I almost made it through without giggling. That was pretty decent delivery. But Andy, what do you have in this special department for people who want to pick up some silver?
I know you're coming here in September, and I can't wait to see you and spend a few weeks with you, Chris.
And we are, and you were serious. We're recording Silverfest. I can broadcast from the Silver Vault. You had 40,000 witnesses last week, so be careful. You're not teasing me here, are you?
I'm sure we'll be able to pull it off. But let me put it to you this way. I will give you a silver bar if you can dial my phone number with an oven mitt. I guarantee it, and you cannot use your mouth or talk to Siri. As far as what I have to offer, I would like to make something very clear. This is only while supply lasts. I have 15,000 silver kangaroos that I can do at $4.39 over, which ought to be the lowest price in the country. And anything over 100 ounces is free shipping. Anything under 100 ounces is $15 to ship. They're 2020s, they're brand new. But listen, truthfully, stuff is selling out really fast. And the demand is unlike anything I've truly ever seen. And so if your listeners would like to take advantage of that, please understand that as of next Monday, when we start business, I'll have 15,000 to operate on for this special. But when they sell out, that's it. So $4.39 over on 2020 Australian kangaroos, which, like the Canadian maple leaf, are the purest silver coins in the world. The only 9999 pure silver coins on the planet, and really, really nice coins. They come in little mini mint boxes of 250 coins. All the other coins, just about the Eagle, the Maple Leaf, the Britannia, the Philharmonic, they all come in boxes of 500, which is heavy. My 13-year-old daughter could carry a mini mint box of kangaroos with no problem. They probably weigh about 17 pounds. So it's a cool product, purest silver in the world, 2020, lowest price in the industry, free shipping on over 100. And as always, all your listeners need to do is email Arcadia at Miles Franklin, and we will make sure they get the best price in the country, and a portion of every sale goes to your show to support the good work that you're doing and our appreciation for being a part of it.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. And fortunately, people can email Arcadia at Miles Franklin before Monday, so you can stay ahead of that one. Kind of like staying ahead of the Wall Street investment advice on the gold and silver markets, which is fortunately, Andy, it's kind of nice. You even did write it down in a book, your chapter of the big silver short. So, I think that's kind of cool that after silver is somewhere north of $50, then, anyone who says, was the guy talking his book? Well, he was right. And that's the most important thing. And I know you are not talking your book. And I know in fact, Andy, before we wrap up, as I was writing, and I just released last night the details for Silverfest, this year's celebration, and I wouldn't call it a conference because I've intentionally increased the ratio of fun and celebration and making it a party of silver, because it really does take a rather special unique personality and profile type to invest in silver. I mean, it wasn't easy for a lot of people the last 9 years. Although along with yourself and many of the other guests from the book, it's going to be quite a party. September 12th to 13th. Andy, I got you in for a couple of panels. People will be able to ask you questions. We'll have a couple of Q&A sessions, and going to be a lot of fun. Now, I've been promising people that I will be sitting on a stack of 1,000-ounce silver bars, so pull some strings. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing you. We'll record some live ones in person, and I think it's certainly an exciting time. So thanks again for being here this week.
Thanks, Chris, and look forward to coming back as often as possible. And I find it to be therapeutic in a sort of way to kind of talk through some of these things, and I hope your listeners are getting something out of it as well, because these are crazy times and things are happening very, very rapidly, and I like nothing more than sharing what's going on, at least from my perspective here each week with you.
Well, that's why we got you dialed into the Silver Therapy Hotline, because, I mean, really the fundamentals are simple enough. It's just, can you adjust your mindset so that you can be prepared for the things that happen? I mean, we're investing in silver not because we think it's stable, because we're expecting volatility, hopefully to the upside. But again, that's the type of mindset topic we'll be digging into at Silverfest. Andy, I hope you'll be joining in on that Napoleon Hill style mastermind visualization session where we'll get a couple thousand people, hopefully, just sharing their joint energy, imagining what life is like with silver somewhere north of 50. Maybe we'll will it to happen, JP Morgan aside. So far, no RSVPs from JP, but we'll see. Although actually someone did recently introduce me to a former JP Morgan trader who we'll be talking with next week. And in either case, we'll be touching on all of these great things at Silverfest. And if you'd like to hear more about what we just announced, well, fortunately, that video is coming your way now.